CWLA. Sir. Yeah.
You're here in Springfield, you're having a town meeting, you're starting a nationwide effort to draw attention to the problem in connection with reauthorization of the federal No Child Left Behind. What do you want to get across?
Well, I want to get across to people that the system, while fractured, is totally fixable.
We're in an environment in human services where we kind of pass the blame. So we say, okay, it's not the child that's to blame, it's not the child welfare system that's to blame, it's not the education system. What we haven't done is figure out how to tap into the capacity of all those different things, the capacity of the parent, the capacity of the young people who have this amazing resiliency.
It feels to me like the orange schools, the orange AFO schools, do a very good job with creating a position called a homeschool liaison. And so I'd like to just know if West Springfield has that kind of a position. If you don't, you should advocate for it.
While we're at it, we might as well look at educational stability, because education is just as important as the having that safe and stable home.
And I think that we have to demand more. One of the things that I witness with change comes a lot of resistance, and a lot of people don't realize if we don't invest in our future, we're going to have a pretty screwed up future.
Another thing we're looking at is Commissioner Chester and I have commissioned a work group, an interagency work group, that's putting together frequently asked questions related to the Fostering Connections Act in terms of how we implement it. And we're going to put out a joint letter from the two of us talking about the importance of it. And also we're going to have a memorandum of understanding, so when the local child welfare and local educational folks get together and want to have this in place by September, they're not having to make it up from scratch. They actually have a template that they can use and that they can follow.
What I would really be interested in tonight is kind of finding out how we can look at the experiences that foster youth face in their educational achievement and stability, and how that affects the larger educational reform that we're trying to get into. I mean, it's not about fixing the system for one set of kids alone, it's about fixing the system for all kids.
And while students clearly bear the brunt of what happens here, I also saw the strain and the stress on the professionals who work with these young people. One of the men in our group, very early on in the process, big guy, not the expression I would have expected from him, but I said, what is it like for you as a high school teacher in Central Falls when you have a student in foster care? And this man said to me, he said, it kills me. It kills me because I find out that the decision I made to give a kid a consequence yesterday wasn't because he didn't care about his homework. It was because he didn't know what happened to his mother or where his siblings were. And if I had just known that kid's situation.
There's estimates that 2% of Americans. The big takeaway from our series of town halls in New England was that we reached our goals. One was to expedite the state level implementation of the Fostering Connections to Success Act, and in particular, the mandates around educational stability. In Massachusetts, the Department of Children and Families announced at our town hall at Harvard Law School that they would enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Education around the educational stability of children in foster care. That was a big step forward. In Rhode Island, higher-ups from both education and foster care again pledged their commitment. That was a big step forward on the state level. The secondary goal was to influence the federal conversation around the education of children in foster care. By virtue of some great partners and good media coverage, we were able to start changing that conversation. And you can really see that in this country, and in New England for sure, that there was a hunger for this child-first political platform, a hunger for a way of governing that takes children into account first.
Anybody ever wonder when they would see the sun, just remember when they come up.